You are listening to Healing with Haley, episode 29, Balancing Motherhood, Passions, and Everything Else. Welcome to the podcast where it's all about healing, self-improvement, our brains, and living your dream life. My name is Haley Kirk, and I'm a life coach, mom, and entrepreneur here to show you how to be the hero of your story. Welcome, you guys, to the podcast. I have a very special guest, Ixiana. She is here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. So I know very little, but the little I know of Ixiana, I'm blown away. So she wrote a book. She has her own professional photography business. She balances like mom life and business and passions, and she's just a go-getter. I love her energy. And when I'm around her, I just I feel energized and fueled and like zoop, like I'm ready. I'm like, I gotta do Ixiana level energy.
Oh, that's great because the feeling is mutual. So I would have thought that you're all like up here already with energy. Woo.
No. Yeah, it's infectious. It's infectious. And um, so I actually I hate doing this, but I would love for you to kind of give us even a bigger intro, a more in-depth intro into Ixiana.
Oh, wow. That's a doozy. So I'm a mom of three boys, and I have explored different careers throughout my life. I'm like 47 years old right now, but I'm feeling like I am at I'm like at my prime.
Oh, you're living like it
I
is.
feel
Like,
really good.
yes.
Yeah, this is the most empowered I felt in my whole life, so that's good. Yes, I have a master's degree in fine arts, which is where like I studied photography,
Uh-huh.
and I've been doing photography for well over 20 years. I fell in love with it when I took my very first class in college, and from then I just went with it. And then as I became a mom, I became very interested in health and wellness because it affected me and my kids. And I got a degree, a master's degree of science in holistic nutrition. And towards the end of that was when I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. So my thesis, I devoted it to helping moms release stressors, right, via nutrition and lifestyle. And I just went and I wrote a book about it because what do you do with a thesis, right? Like nobody's gonna
Yes.
read that.
Yeah.
So I try to make it so that it was something easy for moms to read with their busy schedule. So it wouldn't be like this crazy, like long thing. And I was doing that for a while. And then I changed my mind.
Yeah,
And
which you're totally allowed to do.
I decided to go back to photography because it was just calling me. I don't know. I feel like sometimes when we are really in tune with ourselves, we can like really hear what we really want or what we need in our lives. And it just became clear that I wanted to keep working with women, but I just wanted to use more of my arts side for it. So I've been creating portraits of women to empower them. And I continue my mission of helping women feel more joyful, more vibrant, and just happier, and that's my goal.
I love that. I love that so much. So how backstory to how Ixiana and I got like met, became friends, got together, and now we're working on a super cool project together, which we're going to
Yes,
talk about later. I'm so excited to talk about that. Mini retreat that we're like hybriding all of our skills into one.
exactly. I
It's
love that.
Oh, it's so fun. But I saw Ixiana's work on my friend Yoi's page, and I was blown away. I was literally looking at I couldn't stop looking at the pictures. I was like, this is next level photography. Like, I was
Oh,
like, this is so beautiful. Like the details, it's like the lighting. I mean, I was just like, because I feel like photography now, there's and it's not to bash on any photographer, it's just it's their own styles, right? But I feel like the photographers I've worked with are usually males, right?
yes.
And they have a particular style of photography, and there's nothing wrong with sexy photography, but
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of veers that way, which is fine. But like there was something about the photo shoot that you did with Yoi that was like it was sexy but playful and fun and light and vibrant and empowering, and I was just like, I need to work with her.
Oh,
Like, I need to
oh my
work with
gosh.
her. Like,
It's such a big compliment. Thank you.
it was jaw dropping. It was really next level photography. The details. It was like one was her and her curls
The
and like
curlers, yeah.
and in the bathroom, like just like getting ready for the night. And there was
I
another one in her
know.
bed. And
We were trying to do something a little retro, a little bit editorial, and I just like, and she was the one that came up with the idea of the rollers, and I'm like, let's do it, because I love working with the women I work with. I love to get their ideas and then
yes,
kind of go with that, like it's like a two-person thing, it's not just me
yeah,
like, oh, come here, stand here. It's like beforehand, she was like, oh, I have this idea. I'm like, yes, let's do it. Like, and I'll set it up. I'm like, oh, we can shoot here. And that's how I kind of plan out my shoots. I talk to the client first, and then I try to prepare space that feels like what they had in mind.
oh, it's perfect. It really like working with you. It feels so effortless. Like it feels easy. It feels so there's no resistance. There's no
Good.
it's just seamless. It's very like clean. Like it's so hard to put into words what it feels like
I
working
love
with
it, but I
you.
guess I think it's a collaboration, and I think women at some level kind of understand each other. I'm not saying that we all know what the other person wants, because we're not psychic, or some of
No.
us maybe are, I don't know. But yeah, I think there comes to a level of comfort and like friendliness that can happen between women that is not necessarily as easy to achieve with like men, or stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And I love the experience. And so I reached out to Ixiana on Instagram. I
Yeah.
slid into her DMs. I was like, hey girl, like let's get together. And you were like, let's do it. We were like putting ideas back and forth, just like you
I
said.
know,
And then
that was so fun.
that was so fun. And the photo shoot we did was so awesome. And it was like I was late and you just like, let's roll with it. Like you're just such a you're a person that takes whatever circumstance and you just like make the most of it. And I love women like that because that's like motherhood in a nutshell. It's like,
Exactly.
oh,
That
okay,
is
like
so true.
this happened. We're just gonna keep going with the
Yeah.
day. Like
Yeah, we adjust, because if not, you're just hitting a wall.
yes, so much so. So tell me more about your experience with being a mom and having your photography business because I know there's a lot of moms out there that are like you said, like something's calling to me. And there's so many moms out there that are just like, how can I do this? Like
Mhm.
I can't find the time. Like, how are these women doing it that are business owners,
Mhm.
passion pursuers, and mothers? How are they doing it?
Well, I think honestly, the first step is to really know that there's no time, there's no deadline for your dreams, right? There really isn't,
Yeah.
right? And at some
Yes.
points in motherhood, we can't do all the things. I actually think this stereotype of the super mom is like deserving to women, because it's like, oh, we can
Mm,
do everything. But then we put that pressure on ourselves. And then we end up having situations like that where you think like, how are these
yeah.
women doing it all? And it's like, we're not. We're like, we are doing the best we can on each like right in each capacity, right?
Right.
But I think what is super helpful is if a mom just kind of like looks at where she's at, right? When you have like a newborn, maybe it's not the first best time to start a small business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But maybe it's a good time for you to start planting that seed and start like
Ooh.
kind of like thinking like, oh, how would I make this happen?
Like the
And
ideas, like you could just be like
yeah, you
the
can start
ideas.
writing stuff
I
down,
love
trying to
that.
find resources if that's the case.
Yeah.
But I would say one of my top advice to any women that wants to start a business, or anybody really, is go for it, but make sure you're having fun.
Oof. Yes. Yes, yes, yes,
Because
yes.
if
Yes.
not, then it just becomes this other chore. And you imagine like all the things we do as mothers, right? Like you've heard
Yeah.
about the whole invisible labor, the load of invisible labor, which is like nobody sees it, but you're doing all these things. You're mentally thinking about like, oh, my kids' appointments, like, oh, I have to drive them here. You're just schedule, you're making the meals, all these things that go like
Yeah.
unseen. And that's a lot of pressure. And then you want to add on to that like your dreams and your ideas and your business. So it can become like too much, you know?
It's true. It's so true.
So I think it's important that we remember whatever we're doing, that we obviously that we love it and that we are enjoying it. And the other thing that is very important, and is that if we can align with ourselves, it's easier to move forward. You know, like if we're in disconnect, like if we are in that mode where you're too exhausted, you can't think of anything, nobody's helping you, and you're just going crazy, right? It's very hard to be aligned with ourselves. So anything that we try to do at that point will almost feel forced, and
Mm.
it's gonna meet you're gonna meet more resistance. So I don't know. I feel like we need to stop with the whole idea that our dreams have a deadline, that we have to do it like right this second. Um,
Oh,
but
that's such
you
good
can
advice.
always dream, right? And
Yes.
when the time comes for you to do it, then just go. Like, don't overthink it. Then just
Yeah.
go. Just start doing things. Start doing things. And little steps can lead to big things.
So
So little steps can also help. And that's because, you know, you asked me about how moms can do it. Like, depends on what part of motherhood they are, you know, where they would start. I mean, you can start at any time. Obviously, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from starting a
yeah.
business if they have a newborn. But I just want to bring to attention that we really need to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah.
And then the process, I think, becomes easier if we're taking care of ourselves first. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. I want to ask a question about what you said. You said it's important to get into alignment. Like, what does that mean? And how do you know if you're in it? And talk more about that part.
All right. So I feel like this often happens to us, and this happened to me after I had my kids. I kind of disconnected from myself because I kind of became an extension of my children. I mean, I'm talking about specifically about motherhood, right?
Yeah.
Because you become an extension of that child or children because you're tending to all their needs. And a lot of times, if we forget about ourselves, or if we start doing this thing that society implies that we're supposed to do, right? Your children come first, your children come first. Then you start losing yourself. And I think there cannot be alignment when we're lost like that. We're lost, I feel like. And I think what helps for us to get back into alignment is to try to take care of ourselves, mother ourselves. So we can mother ourselves to the point where we feel kind of like comfortable in our skin. Doesn't mean that everything's perfect and that we're gonna have like epiphanies all the time.
Yeah.
But like it just means that we're taking care of ourselves enough so we can recognize our needs, you know? We can
Yeah.
recognize when we need to make a little change just to feel better or to feel more empowered and whatnot. You know, it's all those little cues that our body gives us and then often we ignore. I think that's when we are not aligned. I don't know. Me personally, what I can use to get aligned is I try to make time for myself that is not for anybody else but me.
Mm. Mm.
And it doesn't have to be a lot of time because let's face it,
Yeah.
sometimes there's too much going on. We can't just be like, oh, I'm leaving for like 2 hours. Like, I'm not talking about that. But I think we can all manage to carve time in our schedule, even if it's 5 minutes, that we just say, like, okay, I'm going to do a breathing exercise for 5 minutes just so I can kind of like feel myself, like try to be in the moment. You know, it's
Yes.
not necessarily an easy thing to do, but it's something that can be done if we're aware of it. And yeah, and as far as that relates to like business, what I mean is like when we are at that level, when we can listen to our needs and we can find solutions that are realistic to us, that will make us feel better, then when we are at that point, it's a lot easier to move forward with whatever your dreams are or your business idea is, because then your mind is a little bit more clear and it's easier to move that way. I'm gonna use the word flow. I know that sounds very esoteric, but but it's easier to flow than to push, you know? That's how I feel.
Oh, I love those words you used actually. The flow of business rather
Yeah.
than like pushing agendas and pushing and like it must be done at this time. I
Yeah, and
actually really like those visuals.
you can go that way and it can be done. I mean, plenty of people do it that way, and that's okay. If that's like the way you want to do it, that's cool. I I just rather move the path of least resistance, honestly. And it's okay to be a little uncomfortable because I think that's also a good place to be a little bit like uncomfortable, a little bit out of your comfort zone. So you push yourself a little bit, but not to the point where it feels like, oh my God, then it's not fun anymore. We lost it. We lost the fun, and it's just harder.
Well,
And
I mean, I would argue, right? Like it's it's a lot like I swear, fitness is like an allegory for life. It when you're going to the gym for reasons outside of yourself and not for like the intrinsic reasons, like I want to get strong, I want to test my limits, I want to see what I'm capable of, I want to build a community. Like those are the reasons I go to the gym. And there were times in my life where I didn't go for those reasons. But those reasons were like underlyingly there. Um, it's so much easier to make it fun and make it long lasting. Because I feel like when we're pushing and just like killing ourselves trying to accomplish a goal, I don't think it lasts. And that has been a repeating theme in my life that I've learned from is like I'm very ambitious and I get what I want.
yeah,
I,
I think that's,
I accomplish the goals, but the times where I like pushed, like you're saying, um, with that resistance, it doesn't last long. And I want my goals or whatever I'm working on to last long.
yeah, you want like some kind of like sustainable energy. And of
Yes,
course, we're gonna hit roadblocks. And of course, at some points, we're
right.
gonna be like, oh, I can't anymore. That's
Yes,
normal. That's part of the process, right?
it is.
But what you're saying to me also like connects to the whole idea. For example, when I was helping women with their wellness, one of the biggest things that I always felt like is you cannot heal from a place of hatred or from a place of resentment. And when we get to a point where we're like pushing and pushing and it's hard, and then it's unavoidable. You start resenting things or maybe even hating whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And then there's it's not going to be like a beautiful outcome that can come from that place, you know?
Yeah.
So if you want to flourish beautifully, if you want it to be like radiant and you want it to be healthy and joyful and all these things, then it has to come from a place of love. And that's only achieved when you really pay attention to yourself, I think.
Oh, this is so good. I really love what you said. Listen to our needs,
Yeah.
allow your mind to be clear. It needs to flow rather than push. And you would rather find the path of least resistance.
Oh, yeah, for
I
sure.
love that's like, and the time for me. Let me just say, I've noticed when I am just disconnected or not in alignment with like my son and like being a mother, it's because I feel I don't know if you can relate, but like for me, when I'm a mom, when I'm momming,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like when is when is it me time?
Yeah. When
When
is
am I
this
gonna
fight gonna
get a
be
break?
over? Come on.
Yeah. No, that's seriously my pull. And like I
Yeah.
find myself like checking my phone when I'm in that energy. And I
100%.
yeah, I've learned actually to kind of be like, okay, this is gonna be Haley time. And I've found that fitness like is my time. And not only is when I put in fitness, I feel connected to like a community outside of my home. And I feel strong physically, but also mentally strong. Like I'm like pushing so hard at the gym. And I'm like, if I can like withstand this physically, nothing in life can like hurt me. Like I can push through it. I can ride the wave. I can weather the storm. And I love that advice, that time for me. Because I really think that as mothers, one of the best ways to regulate yourself and to find that time for you is going to the gym. And almost every gym has daycare.
That's so helpful.
It is. It is. It's so helpful. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I love this advice you're giving. It's so merited. I found another thing, what you're talking about is that super mom. Like you don't have to be the super mom. Can you talk more about that? I
Oh my gosh,
really
yeah. That
love that idea.
it drives me crazy, because as women, we already have all this plethora of things that we're supposed to be good at or do and whatnot, right? We have all
Yeah.
that pressure already. Then we
Yeah.
become mothers and we have all this extra stuff that we are supposed to be taking care of and doing and blah, 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 blah. And then instead of getting help, we are trained to be like, oh, I'm strong, I can do it. And there's nothing wrong with knowing your strength. I'm not even, that's not even what I'm trying to say. But it's this notion that we are capable of it. Oh, we can do it, everything. So then just push through it. You can do it. Like you're super Wonder Woman. This whole iconic character. But Wonder Woman is a fictional character, right?
Oh,
Wonder Woman is not like doing all the things that we're doing all the time, right? She has crazy superpowers and all these things. And I get it for inspiration, for sure. I feel like women are incredibly powerful.
yeah.
So this is not to take away from anybody's strength or power, but this is more to the idea of like we start thinking that being gentle or kind to ourselves, that's like frowned upon. Like, oh, why are you doing this? Like you can do it. Like, stop. Like get up and keep going. That kind of mentality. Um, I don't know. For once, I don't want to raise my kids thinking that way. Like they can fall and take a break. Like, oh no, you fell. Like get up, keep going. Like you can do this. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
But yet we feel it's okay to do it to ourselves. Like, so that's why I think it's so, so important for women to kind of give themselves grace and take their wellness, all that stuff into their own hands because it depends on us. And everybody else is going to tell you all the things that you're doing wrong or you should be doing, blah, 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 blah. But nobody's going to come to your house, take care of your kids, do your thing while you go take a bath. Like, no, like it's your life. So you have to figure out how to make that work in a way that's sustainable. Like you were saying, like if you run out of energy, then like if you keep pushing, 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 you're going to run out of fuel. And
Yeah.
that's gonna come to light in the way of disease, in the way of depression, in the way of all these other things. So
True.
that whole like archetype of the Wonder Woman, I find it very problematic because like what we're trying to sell women is like what society wants us to do. They just want us to take care of everything so they don't have to, like, so why offer them free childcare? They can do it, like that's crazy. So I think it's very problematic. So when I talk about women's power, I talk about our strength and our smarts too to figure out when we need to take a break, and that's okay
Mm,
because then I just said yeah.
yes. Yes. Because you don't see Wonder Woman taking breaks, right? Like it's okay. I love that actually. What you're saying, I have two stories that come in mind. I was at the gym once and I was dropping my son off at the daycare. And she was like, "Oh, he's so cute." And we got to talking. And I was like, "Oh, my I'm trying to remember the sequence. Oh. So he had two different shoes on, my son. So I was like, I just need to get to the gym. If I don't get there at 11, it's not happening. And so I would just mention, I was like, oh yeah, his dad was like, oh, I could never let him out of the house like that. And then the mom said, oh, hell, I could
Yeah.
easily. I would easily let my son wear two different types of shoes.
Yeah, I do
And
it all the time.
it was such a, I felt so much love from her from saying that. I felt love, I felt validated, I felt consoled.
Yeah,
And I love that piece that you're saying is you find a way to make motherhood work for you.
Yeah,
And
of
that
course.
empowering yourself, like you don't have to, he doesn't have to be like perfect shoes, ironed clothing, done up hair. And it's so interesting to me because for the longest time, I wouldn't do Israel's hair. I was like, he's gonna be clothed, he's gonna be fed, he's gonna go outside, I'm gonna play with him, he's gonna have minimal TV. I just don't want to deal with the hair. Like, I don't want to do it. I just decided not to. I was like,
Yeah,
he's
go
gonna
for it.
look like a raggedy muffin and
Yeah.
call me a bad mom for that. But like, I just don't want to do it. And I've gone through that shame a little bit, like how like there's that little voice, right, in the back of your head that's like, oh, like your kid looks homeless or like, all these things. And lately, I've had the desire to
Yeah,
do his hair. And I've found a way to add it into the schedule while I'm getting his clothes on for the gym, but it came out so organically. And
that's
like
awesome.
I love it, but I was like, it was also okay that I didn't do his hair. And like there's all these like kind of you can progressively add things into your schedule once you feel comfortable in like that one area. And I feel like that is just a principle in gaining any kind of habit. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, talks about that. He's like, in life, if you want to run a marathon, do the 2-minute version, which is like just putting your tennis shoes on. And I'm like, I love that. I love that concept,
Yeah,
right? Like getting him breakfast, getting him outside, getting him ready for the gym, making sure he has snacks for the gym, all those things. And I was just like, I'm not doing his hair. I'm not
yeah,
going to do his hair because I won't go to the gym. Like all these things I have to do, like I just can't do it. And so that for me is like such a reward now because I've been able to figure it out, right? Like,
yeah,
but he's 2 now,
yeah.
and I haven't been doing his hair for that long. I just
No, I mean,
don't do his hair.
I'm telling you, like this whole idea of like, because everybody thinks like, oh, well, you have to balance things. And I'm like, yeah, but that kind of balance where everything's like perfect one way, perfect the other, that is like impossible. That's an impossible standard,
Love that.
to follow to.
Yeah.
Like some things are gonna drop, and like you get to pick what things drop,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because if you're doing all the things perfect, I mean, that's just not real.
No.
That's just not real, and
No.
it's hard, and it's really sad that people feel the need to tell a woman how all the things they're doing wrong in motherhood and everywhere anywhere else. Because honestly, nobody gave us like a manual. Like you have
Right.
a baby, and it's like, here's your manual. This is how you do everything, and this is how it works.
Right.
No, you're
No.
figuring things out as you go,
Yeah.
and even if you have more than one child, the experience changes every time. I have 3 boys, and every time it's different. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, we know some things we learn over time and how to handle some things, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But it's very confusing, and it can be very isolating too. So, yeah, I think moms, like, good job, however you're doing it. Your child is alive, he's fed, he's happy. I mean, your child is not gonna remember that you didn't do his hair when he was
No.
1 or 2. He's
No.
gonna remember that his mom was there and she loved him.
Yeah.
So, you're doing
I
great
love
then. Awesome.
I love that so, so much. I love that so much. And there was recently an Instagram video kind of talking about that, how like if you and the video was saying asking these questions to the audience, and it was like, can you remember your childhood and worrying about how clean the house was?
Hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Like we do not care, right?
Mhm.
We do not care as kids about how clean the house is, about a lot of things that us as moms freak out about all the
Yeah,
time, right?
I know. We put so much pressure in ourselves, and
Yeah,
I've done it. I mean, I've been there. I'm totally guilty. I do that all the time, but I'm working on it. I see it when it
right.
happens now. And the difference now is that if I see myself being like talking mean to myself, I immediately stop and I'm like, breathe, It's okay. You're great. You're doing great. And I always, that's become my fallback every time now. But that's taking time for me to get there, where I see when I'm doing something that is mean to myself, or I'm
Mhm.
judging myself in a way that's completely unnecessary. And I can see it, and I'm like, okay, stop. Okay, breath. Okay, this is hard right now, but you're doing good. It's gonna be okay. Like, just talk to yourself a little different, because the voices that you're going to hear are not always going to be kind. So you don't need your voice to be a mean voice. Also, your voice should be a kind voice. Your voice should be the voice you use to talk to your child. You wouldn't let somebody come to your child and tell him, why are you putting two shoes that don't match? Like, that is so messed up, blah blah. Would you let somebody say that to your child? No. So why are we allowing ourselves to those voices in our lives, and worse yet, like, letting them take over our minds, so then we repeat those voices. So yeah, no.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. And how kind of I do my coaching practice is I love sharing with people, you know, it's so interesting how thoughts work, right? Like thoughts are very similar. It's just an automatic system, right? Like you're being thought. Thoughts are coming to you, and thoughts are just repetitive and negative, like 90%, right? And they have scientifically been able to prove this.
Oh yeah, ruminating
And
is a big cause for, like, stress, and that messes with your hormones too, like, in a physical level.
oh, so much so. And so like what I find very interesting is there's like you said, your voice, there's this like inner us, right? It's almost like there's the us that's like watching a TV, right? And there's this projection of like all these ideas and thoughts and things. And we're kind of the quiet observer. And it's kind of up to us whether we're going to believe certain thoughts or not. And you can just like a thought will come to your head and it could be like, oh, like I'm a bad mom. And you're like, huh, does that serve me? Probably not. So, and it's that inquiry, that insight into your mind where you take each thought and you kind of break it apart and you're like, huh, does believing I'm a bad mom serve me? Yeah, it really doesn't actually. So what if when that thought comes, I can just kind of like watch it and just like, huh, that's like a scientist, right? Like, oh, that's an
Yeah,
interesting thought. Where did
we
that
don't have
come
to
from?
negate it or shut it down. We just, like, we can listen. We go, okay, like you're saying, you're observing something, or in this case, listening to
Yeah,
something, right? But that doesn't mean to dictate what actions you take or what you're gonna believe, right?
right. And one of my favorite authors, her name's Byron Katie, and she says the only thing that we're guilty of is believing a stressful thought.
It's hard,
I
and
love
it's
that.
it's so hard, because, like, what we
Yeah,
see all the time is what we're taught, I think, since we're little, and it's very hard to break free from those. Those are patterns, and
it
those
is.
are habits that are not good habits, right? The
Right.
habits that we have, like, to, like, just be so hard on ourselves when it's not necessary.
Yeah. Something, I don't know why I feel like to share this, but I just recently read a book and he was talking about his name's Matthew Hussey. It's actually a dating book. And he was saying how like he'll ask parents like, "Why do you love your kids?" And then pa parents are just kind of like, "Because they're my kids. That's why I love them. Like they're my kids. There's no reason. I just do. I love them." And he was like, "Self-love is that,
Mhm.
but towards yourself." It's like I love myself just because I'm myself.
Yeah,
And
you're
a lot
you're
of
the
times,
greatest love of your life.
yeah, and a lot of times we like to be like, oh, I didn't do this and this and this and this. Not worthy of love. You suck, loser. Go,
Yeah.
go like eat some chocolate.
I don't know. It's not easy, for sure. It's not easy, but like anything else, is something that we can practice and that we can learn.
Yeah.
It's like we trying to unlearn some patterns and then learn new ones. It's possible. We just have to be aware.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So, so wrapping up here, so your book, tell us a little bit more about the book, that whole journey and what it talks about and how people can find it.
Yeah, I think I wrote the book because I went through some severe depression and some health issues after I became a mom the first time, right? I didn't know anything. I felt like I was drowning and like nobody was giving me any real information how to help myself, right? They would be like, oh, you just need to like stress less. And I'm like, but how? Like, how? You know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
when I was doing my master's in of science in nutrition, I decided to study like the nervous system and how like that work and how we can help that, right? And it just kind of became this kind of like love letter to moms, right? Because I, as a
Mm.
mom, I felt so much, and I felt like what's the right word? I felt so disappointed with the resources that I got to help myself, right? When I was in the point where I felt like I was drowning, like really badly. And I only found my way out through myself. And I just wanted to write this book for moms so that they remember that they are not only worthy and deserving, but capable of living a life in motherhood that is joyful, that is like vibrant, that is fun, that they love, and that they can take care of that. They can take that into their own hands, given the right information and resources. So I just wanted to let women know that they can do it and that's just a big game changer, when you turn to yourself and you start taking care of yourself. It's such a game changer. You Children will love you more for it because you're gonna be exuding like more like I don't know, like health and wellness and just an overall state of well-being that can
Wow.
only happen if you decide to take care of yourself. So yeah, so the book is like it's like a 3-week program. It has like very realistic science-based steps that you can take to help yourself reduce stressors because that is so huge in motherhood. And you can do it in 3 weeks or you can do it slowly. You can start reading, take something from here, take something from there. Like you don't have to do the whole thing at once. Obviously, it can take you months, whatever. But the information is there for whenever you're ready for it. And yeah, and that's how the book came to be. And I self-published.
That's
But you can buy the book
amazing.
wherever it is you buy books. You can find it. It's called Radiant Mommy. And yeah, check it out.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. I have your book and I'm
Yeah,
on my nightstand on
yeah.
all my list of books I
I
want.
know it's like a list of books. Whenever you know what that book, you're gonna read it when you need it. It's gonna happen like that. I
Yeah.
truly believe.
Oh, I
Yeah,
believe that so strongly. Books have come into my life just
yeah,
at the right time, right when I needed it. Yeah, that's so, so true. So dive in really quickly on the nervous system. I'm so interested in what you found out about that.
yeah. So like the thing is, like I feel like when we're in motherhood, right? It's like we are in the doing the fight or flight response a lot of times. And that is like stress is very useful in our bodies because stress can be used, our body uses stress to address disease, to like if you cut yourself, like, yeah, your body gets like in a state of like stress, but that's how you create scabs and things like that, right? So that's part of your body signals your body to do things to heal you, right? So a certain amount of stress is necessary.
Oh, I
But
didn't know that.
in our case, like in generally speaking for moms, like we become so like chronically stressed that it's like we are in fight or flight forever. Like it never ends. The fight or flight response is designed specifically for you to survive an event where something needs to happen quickly, right? Adrenaline jumps in, so then you can run faster, you can do something, quickly. But that is supposed to end. And then the hormones start to go back to normal so that then your body can do other things like digest food, like sleep, all those things cannot happen if your body's in a constant state of stress. So there are many things that you can do to regain that balance, right, in your body, like that homeostasis. But we have to take steps towards that so that we can jump out of that fight or flight response all the time.
Oh,
It's not sustainable, and winds up driving your body to a point where it just stops functioning properly. And then you have like, then you have sleep disturbances, things like that. You can't sleep, or like you have some gut issue, you can even develop allergies. It's like crazy, all the things that can happen, because the stress can be so damaging to your body when it's in long term like that.
Wow. 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 What are some of the stressors that you notice from your research?
Well, there's the, like, the basic stressors, like, not when I talk about stressors, it's not only about things like, oh, I'm in traffic, oh, this is stressful, like, which is right.
Yeah.
Making decisions for the kids, sometimes the noise is stressful. So when I did my research, I looked at the different things that cause stress in the body, and those include diet, a diet that's like the standard American diet, which is known as a SAD diet, which is so like, it's sad.
It is sad.
It's so funny. The standard American diet is sad. It's because,
Oh, I see it. I see it. Oh
yeah,
my God. Yeah,
it's
that is
it's
sad.
like our diet is based like on like really highly processed foods, like things that are very high in like damaged fats, things that are super high in sugar, and like this happens. This is so easy to fall into this, especially in motherhood, because since you're always so stressed and you have so many things to do, you grab whatever is easy, right? And I understand that, but that's when we have to start making choices about what we put in our pantry. But anyways, that's like a whole other thing.
Right.
But yes, like food is a stressor. Food is a stressor. Lack of sleep is a huge stressor. Like not being able, because your body does functions at different times of the day. This is what they call the circadian rhythm. So
Mm,
it's basically a 24-hour cycle of how your body works,
mm,
right?
mhm.
And different processes happen at different times. For example, detoxification usually happens when you're sleeping. So it's kind of, I say it in the book, it's kind of like when you get out of whack like that and you're not sleeping and this whole cycle is disturbed, it's like you're sending the people in the factory that are coming to like take care of the machines show up like at the time where all the workers are working. So they can't do their job and everything just starts getting like a mess.
Oh, that's such
Things
a
just
good
stop,
illustration.
just
Yeah.
becomes like a big mess, and things
Yeah.
start malfunctioning in your
Right.
body. So
Right.
yeah, so sleep. Then we have the environmental stressors, which is something like sometimes we don't consider, the stuff we put in our skin,
Yeah.
products that are very high in toxic,
Yeah.
chemicals that are very damaging to us, that causes stress in our body as well. That's a big stressor. Noises can be stressors, like your sensor, like that kind of thing, the things that we hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about stress in a holistic way like that, and I don't, again, when I say holistic, I mean like encompassing all the parts of it, then you see that it's not just the one thing. There's no magic bullet to end stress, or there are many aspects in our life that are going to have stressors, and it's kind of up to us to start recognizing those things. So to recap: diet, environmental stressors, sleeping, lack of sleep is a stressor, and obviously like the regular things that kind of get that fight or flight response going, like if you feel like
Hmm.
there's something dangerous going on but there really isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all those things affect us.
I love that. So let's walk back a little bit. You said that you had written the book, you were doing this like nutrition path, and then you had to do like a course, like a change of course, right?
Mhm.
Total shift to photography and women. So walk us through that if you can, and tell us why you're passionate about helping women.
Yeah, I feel like from the get-go, from when I started doing my studies on nutrition, I was really interested in how our bodies work, and I'm a woman, of course, so I'm like was very curious about all that, and I wanted to make it better, right? So that's kind of what moved me that direction. And when I was done and wrote the book about motherhood, then I was moved to like help moms also find their like best selves, find themselves when they were lost, like trying to find ways to make them healthier and happier, and them taking in charge. I just wanted to create that movement where women took charge of their health and their wellness. And so I was doing that for a couple years, but then pandemic came and I had another baby and like just a lot of things happened. And I started to feel disconnected, even this whole thing that I was like, that I was moved to doing and whatnot had just become something that just made me feel disconnected from myself. I kind of didn't feel like I was that person anymore. Not that I didn't care about women or whatever. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I just stopped enjoying it. It wasn't fun anymore. And I feel like I felt very lost for a while. It took me a while to find myself here again. And I don't know, one day a friend came over because she was turning 40 and she wanted this photo shoot to celebrate herself. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And after I did that photo shoot, I was like, this was great. And she felt so good because, she was like she was self-conscious and all these things, but she felt so empowered. And she just said, like, oh my gosh, I felt like a goddess. This was so good. Like, I felt like it was therapy for me and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I love that, like I love it.
Yeah.
I love the idea of helping women feel more empowered by helping them find that beauty in themselves, that power, that confidence again. Maybe you don't even know you lost it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like I feel like so good, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, that gave me like a really big high, and I was like, I want more. I want more of this. And
Yeah.
I just like that's that kind of moment where I was kind of like hesitant, like, oh, like, but I've been doing this now, and I've named my name to be like nutrition and blah blah blah. I even through my journey, I started another business that was a kids cooking school thing. Like this is all these things, and I just didn't know, like, oh, how do I change now, like if I could wasn't allowed, right? Because I'm like, oh,
Right.
this is who I am now, what am I gonna do? And just like one day I was like, oh, I don't want to do this thing anymore. I want to do this. So why am I limiting myself? Like I can change whenever I want. And
Yeah.
it's like I heard somebody say this and I thought it was so lovely about like how when something ends in your life, it's like, okay, so I feel the whole like nutrition counseling thing is it's done. It's like done on my life. Like it
Yeah.
has the sun has set on that. And now like
I
and
love
now the
it.
sunrise is coming
Yeah.
through my photography. But
Yeah.
I always hold that principle at heart. Like I really, honestly, my biggest thing is like I want to make women feel powerful. And when they step into the studio, I want them to, for whatever amount of time they're here, I don't want them to be hearing voices of self-hate and deprecation or like whatever they hear when they're whatever, or whatever they tell.
Yeah.
When they're here, I'm like gonna hype you up. I'm gonna make you feel like you're like the most amazing person because chances are that you are,
Right. Oh yeah.
that you are in your own right amazing. And maybe you just don't see it. And I want to show you, I want to show you in a tangible way.
Ooh,
You
I
can
love
look at
that.
it and be like, this is you, it's all you. And I don't know. I just love it. I don't know how to explain. I just loved it. And I gave myself permission to switch
I love it.
because, who's going to tell me? Like, right? I have to make that decision. And I did. And I am so happy I did. I really love it. I mean, I came back to photography again. Like, I've been doing photography for a long time. Then I did the nutrition. And then I just came
Yeah.
back to my original love, which was
Wow.
photography. I don't regret anything.
I love it. Can I ask before when you loved the very first time you did your first photography class, was that voice of like you should be a photographer pretty strong and you just ignored
Oh,
it?
oh my gosh, that voice was like very strong. I actually changed my bachelor's degree, my concentration. I changed it. I was going for public communications because I wanted to work in advertising.
Yeah.
When I went to college. That's what I wanted to do. Um, but then I took a photography class as an elective, just because photography can go like with that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't know. The very first class I took, I was like, I was completely in love. I mean, I was very, very young. I know at that age, right? When you're starting college, you're so young and you're so romantic in that sense.
Yes.
So I just loved it, and I knew I was like, this is what I want to do. And I changed my curriculum, and then I did my bachelor's degree in public communication, but specializing on photography. And I just went with it. I did that for almost my whole young adult life. I did photography all the way.
And you said it was like pet photography at the beginning.
Well, I did know when I did in college, I was doing like portraits because I mean, girl, like I've had a lot of years of things, right? Like I'm a little bit older than you. But yeah, so and back in when I was younger, I was doing portraits. I even worked, I don't know if anybody will know this place, but it was called Glamour Shots. They had them at the mall. And it was like
Yes.
a little
Oh my,
studio.
yes, I remember that place.
I worked there. I did my own independent stuff. I did a lot of portraits and a lot of women back then. Now I'm thinking about it. But then when I moved to New York, I had lived in Puerto Rico, then Florida, then I moved to New York City. And when I moved there, I was doing my master's in fine arts, right? And of
Yeah.
course, it was photography. And so it was a continuation of my whole photo journey. And at one point, yeah, I started a small pet photography business called Petagraphs.
That's so cute.
And it was really cool too, because see, this is what I mean. For anybody that's listening, any women that feels like they feel a little lost or confused or whatever, um, my journey started with the portraits, and then it got to a point where I was just like, people are so self-conscious, and it started to become hard. So I just stopped. I said, like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm gonna do the pets now because pets don't care how they look. And plus, it was a lot of fun, and it was a good experience. I learned a lot of things working with animals, and it was very exciting, and I loved it. And then that also like went to its like end, and that ended, and then I was here and I started doing real estate photos, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is kind of cool, like, and I was still doing like family portraits or things like that until it got to a point where I was like, I'm not having fun anymore with this. And I'm not suggesting that you spend your whole life switching stuff. It's not what I mean. But I think it's important for you to notice when you like, I'm not loving this anymore. Maybe it's time for a switch. And maybe you don't have to switch careers, but maybe you have to do it a little different, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that
Well,
happened. But now I'm back and I'm back in photography. So yeah, it just worked out this way.
yeah. I think what I love so much, your story is so inspiring because it's like it's okay to change your mind
Yeah.
and think about everything you learned throughout that
Yes.
whole experience. Like you have so much experience to fall back on, right? And like
Yeah.
this is every little thing because you were never, it sounds like, at least from your experience, you were never just like stuck in like analysis paralysis, like what should I do? I don't know. I'll do nothing. You were like,
I,
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna try pet photography. I don't know. Let's
yeah.
try this. Let's try real estate. Let's try whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm a
and
very
you,
impulsive person. It worked out. It works for me. And again, this is not to say that everybody is going to do it that way. Everybody has a different path, and everybody has a different
right.
temperament, and they have a different way of doing things. For some people, sticking to something is what moves them, and
Yeah.
they'd be like, oh, I'm not liking this, but I'm going to find a way to like it. Well, cool, that's good. Then find a way. Just always find your way back to joy, because ultimately, you know how you were saying earlier, how what is my kid going to remember, blah blah. So what are you going to remember, when you're older? That you like stuck with something that you hated, but you did it because you stuck with it? Or are you going to remember like, oh, this was fun. I had a good time. I enjoyed my life. I did all these things. And there's always, of course, going to be hard times and times when you're going to feel like you can't do it and you're going to be sad and you're going to go through all kinds of experiences, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, you want the majority of your life to feel joyful and meaningful. I think that's how I feel.
Yeah. I actually kind of disagree a little bit. I think for me, what served me most is just to be at peace with like whatever's happening.
Yeah.
Peace for me serves me so well because I think joy is beautiful. And I think it's really hard to feel that all the time. Um, because no matter what hits me, whether it's like amazing or like
Yeah.
really sad, it's like, no, like I'm at peace with it all. Like everything, anything can hit me, and I'm just like, I'm good with it. I'm like,
No,
it's
I mean, like calm is another, it's like an amazing place to be. And acceptance too, it's like a place
oh
where where you can be like, okay, this is happening. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And I'm definitely somebody that feels like you must allow yourself to feel through things, because the only way through is through, you know?
Oh, I
Like,
like that. The only way through is through.
so sometimes, and then we come back to the whole thing of resisting, like, no, I don't want it to be like that way, and like that's
Right.
resistance, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I hear what you're saying 100%. And like, yeah, I just but I find joy in that too. When I'm calm, I feel joyful. So maybe it's just like me. I'm like,
No, and I
I
think
just
I
feel,
think what differentiates you is you have worked through so much in your life that joy is your go-to emotion. That
oh, I know
joy
it.
is like
Yeah.
where you've rooted, where you've planted your roots and
Yeah.
your behaviors, your thought patterns, like everything. You're like, okay, how can I'm like getting chills talking about this.
Ah,
It's so weird. But like you have rooted yourself to your environment, everything around you is like, let's do joy. How can we feel joy? Who do I need to put in my life? What do I need to put in my body? What
oh,
all
yeah, it's
these
an
things
active
like,
process. Yeah.
oh my God, I'm getting chills talking about that. That's nuts. And I feel like where focus goes, energy flows, right? That's
Mm,
one of my favorite quotes from Tony Robbins. And you have created this world for you that it's joy. I operate in joy every time. Like, this is where I'm going to be. I'm not going to be in here all the time, but if
right.
it's my choice and like I have some control over it, I'm going to choose
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah, if I can choose, for sure, I'm gonna choose joy. But yeah, it is very important that everybody um understands that all the feelings are allowed. All feelings are allowed.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You know, I actually did a podcast with my friend the other day, and she said we were talking about parenting, and she says that the other day she was telling her daughter because she was like suppressing a cry, and she told her daughter, "Hey, it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry." And when she said that, I started to cry.
Oh,
It is. It's okay to cry. And I know sometimes like
yeah.
we might have been shushed as kids or something, or like told
Because
we're
it's
not
back to
allowed
the
to.
whole thing, like, suck it up. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Just suck it up. You can, like, and I understand that can be a helpful mechanism for some people if they're like really stuck. Then it's like, come on, you have to push through this, right? You
Right.
have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there will be situations in your life where you have to push.
True. True.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Especially in
But
labor.
like, but feeling like you're not able to allow yourself
Yeah.
being fragile, that's crazy. Because
Right.
we are fragile, you know?
Yeah, we're gonna have
We're
those
all
fragile
things. We're not
moments.
one thing. I think maybe the problem is in this whole concept that we are like, we don't see that we're so multifaceted. We're not this one thing. We're not this one
Yes.
feeling. We're not this one, like, whatever it is. We're everything,
Honestly.
We
Yeah.
are like the universe, and the universe is inside us, right? And we are the universe in our world. So that is going to encompass everything.
Yeah.
Um, so
I love that. I love that so much. So let's talk about our project that we're doing and let
yeah,
our
so
audience know.
exciting.
It was all Ixiana's idea, by the way. So tell them
I
everything.
think that was in your head too, because you were like, I wanted to do this.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've been manifesting this forever.
So yeah, so part of my whole thing about empowering women, not only through the photography thing, but I also wanted to create spaces. I mean, the way I designed my studio too was keeping in mind that I wanted to create a space that felt safe, inviting, creative, all these things, right? And one of like something that I always wanted to do is to bring women together and like learn something new, share a good experience together, something that makes us feel powerful and strong, where nobody feels judged, where we can just kind of like be. And in that space of like sisterhood, like a lot of good things happen, right? So I wanted to do like a retreat, like a women's circle type thing, but I want to do different things, not just. So I like when I met you and like we were like talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl has like that good energy and like she can dance and she's like, coach, this is perfect. So we decided to do a mini retreat for women where we can all showcase our like skills, right? And like share them, like share our gifts with a group of women and help them feel empowered, right? So what are we doing? You tell them.
So we're doing on October 19th from 12 to 4 p.m. in Poolsville, Maryland. We're going to do a series of healing, empowering activities. So the first one, we're going to meet together, do a little powwow, get to know each other. Then we're going to have a heels class, and then we're going to have a life coaching session, which is going to allow a lot of healing, do a lot of like the debriefing on thoughts and questioning and inquiry. And then while that's happening, simultaneously, Ixiana is going to pull one individual and do her magic, do her
Yeah,
empoweringness,
we're gonna
making
make
it
them feel
tangible.
empowered all kinds of ways in our bodies, in our minds, in our spirits, in this community. We're gonna and then we're gonna have all that those women are gonna meet each other, and that's gonna be like a little group of support too.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, it's gonna be
Like-minded
great.
women.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be great.
Yes.
Fun.
So,
It's gonna be
so
fun.
yeah. So we're gonna put the link of where to sign up in the show notes. And yeah, I just love Ixiana. I think she's just a powerhouse. She has all this energy that's so like pure and clean and just so much love. Like she radiates love. And I really love
Thank
that about
you.
her.
You too. I hope that you see that in yourself also. I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm awesome.
Yes, you are.
All right, y'all. Well, do you have any other, how can people find you if they want to reach you? What are your socials? Like how can people reach you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I would love it if you give me a follow on Instagram. I'm at radiant_mommy. And also my website is radiantmommy.com. So yeah, I would love if everybody can check it out here, give me a visit, and I would reach out, any questions, anything.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me. And this was an amazing podcast. I can't wait to share it with everyone.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
All right. Bye.
Bye.